is some people may meditate on meditation pillows in yoga position. That, is, of course, is not necessary. We're Westerners, and so sitting in a chair is perfectly appropriate. You can even sit back and use the back of the chair to support you. But you do want to sit upright and sit up as straight as possible. The secret is not to be rigid. So you want to think of yourself as nicely balanced. Okay? Head above your shoulders, maybe lift your chin just a little bit, shoulders back, open up your rib cage. And just think if you were a rag doll, how it would feel to be balanced in your chair. Balanced and centered. And close your eyes if you haven't already. And begin to just feel how it feels to be in your body. The way you would pull on a shirt or pull on your pants or pull on your socks. Imagine that you are wearing a body. How about if I put it that way? And feel how it feels to be comfortable in your body. And gently aware of that feeling. Just focus your attention on how it feels for the chair to support you. Feel the floor beneath your feet. And create and sense a feeling of relaxation. It's a letting go feeling. From the top of your head to the soles of your feet. Create and sense a feeling of letting go. Letting go of muscular tension, for sure, but letting go also of your worries and your concerns, your anxieties. Letting go of any uncomfortable emotion. The great thing is you don't have to struggle with any of this if you're making some effort to avoid, to push away, to ignore or deny. Consider instead the difference if you just let go of it. And imagine it falling away to the present moment. And in your own pace, in your own time, take 2 or 3 nice, slow, deep breaths. Pulling in strength and power as you inhale. And after a brief pause at the peak, you begin to exhale through the nose or the mouth. Every bit as slowly, going beyond where you'd normally stop. And do this 2 or 3 times. Nice, slow, deep breath. And as you exhale, feel the relaxation. Feel the letting go. One more slow, deep breath. Slow breathing like this, as you turn your breathing over to autopilot now, and let your body breathe itself. Along with the feeling of letting go, and the fact that you've closed your eyes, are 3 messages to the brain that you're safe. That you could go to sleep if you wanted. You feel that safe and relaxed. But instead, we're going to explore a range of levels of awareness or states of consciousness between awake and asleep, between highly agitated and upset on the high end, the higher brainwave frequencies, really angry, reacting to emotions or circumstances in a rather out of control kind of a way. We've all been out of our minds at times. Grief can do that. Any trauma or shock, but just getting really angry and sort of losing your composure takes you into these highest brainwave states. And so when we let go, when we feel a letting go feeling in the body, take a few slow, deep breaths and close our eyes. Turn within, so to speak. The brainwave frequencies lower. We go deeper and more relaxed. So initially, let's relax into a level that's familiar to you. A place of mild relaxation. It feels rather carefree. And you'll notice the frenzy of thoughts demanding your attention begins to slow down. The monkey mind, so called, grows a little more quiet and then a little quieter. Simply as you continue to let go. Let go of your focus on the outer world and your concern about externals. And simply form the intention to be more aware of the interior world and what's happening in your mind, in your heart, and in your body. Imagine comforting or reassuring yourself the way you might talk to a child after a bad nightmare. You would simply hug the child, hold him or her, maybe pull them up onto your lap. And with a gentle rocking motion, perhaps, and a cuddle, you'd whisper softly and calmly, "Everything's okay. It was just a bad dream. You're really safe." Bring that to yourself whenever you meditate. That comforting, that relaxing, that reassurance that everything's really okay. If things will work out, they always have. That everything passes in time, because it always does. And they always do. That's an important feeling, even in managing physical pain or discomfort, a mild headache, an upset tummy, or something more severe. Welcome it in, as odd as that sounds. because we're so used to pushing it away. Instead, let it in. It's a signal from the brain. It's trying to communicate to you, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain or mental confusion. It simply wants your attention, so give it that reassurance. And you find yourself effortlessly dissociating from the pain, from the discomfort, from the heartache or sadness, from the confusion. Now let's go a little deeper than this normal level. Let's imagine in your mind's eye, that simply means your ability to imagine, that you're standing at the top of a staircase. Imagine it's a beautiful staircase and then maybe an elegant home. And we're going to begin to walk down that staircase to a deeper level of relaxation. And the mind is very amenable to the suggestion that moving down the stairs is a way of becoming more relaxed and, well, going deeper. So I'll guide you, of course. Let's take the first step down the staircase, moving slowly, going deeper and becoming more relaxed. Each step, take another as you begin to move down the stairs slowly. Feel yourself going deeper. And I'm going to count down as we do. So let's say we started at 10, we're at 8. And then 7, deeper, deeper still and more relaxed. Moving down, 6. Feel the letting go. 5, more and more relaxed. Feel yourself going deeper. 4, deeper and more relaxed. 3, deeper still. Feel the letting go. In a moment, when I reach the number 1, you'll be deeper than before and more relaxed. 3, moving down. 2, feel that settling feeling of becoming more and more relaxed. 2, deeper. And 1, imagine yourself stepping off the staircase, feeling even more relaxed. Enjoying the feeling of deep relaxation. Moving out through a doorway and finding yourself outdoors in a beautiful garden or a wilderness. Without choosing in any way, just allow to occur to you, however it does, a beautiful place in nature. Whether it is a beautifully landscaped garden like an arboretum or a beautiful park, maybe a wilderness or countryside. On a beautiful day, just a perfect day, blue sky, sunshine, white puffy, fluffy and puffy clouds. It's one of those zippity doo dah days, right? And you feel great. You're full of energy and you feel wonderful, yet you're really relaxed. As if everything is okay. In fact, everything is really going well lately for you and getting better and better as you walk through this beautiful nature scene. And again, it could be a rural countryside like farms. It might be a sunny meadow full of wildflowers. It could be a cool, shady, forested place or a lonely stretch of beach. And allowing my voice to go with you. Listen for the sounds that go with this place of perfect peace. Notice how easily you can imagine hearing birds singing, and the wind in the tops of the tallest trees. From time to time, you feel those gentle, warm breezes blowing across your face and through your hair. You feel the gentle warmth of the sun, not too hot, but just perfect. Feel that warmth on your face, on your arms. And when you move into cool, shady places, you feel that shift, allowing my voice to go with you. Imagine you can even smell the fragrances of this beautiful place with peace and relaxation and safety. And find one particular spot. Imagine yourself coming on one particular place that is just, well, it just somehow feels special, like this is the most beautiful place of all, right here. What a cool place. What a beautiful spot to just sit, to sit upon the earth. Maybe a grassy spot beneath a shade tree. And let's imagine there's a little bit of water here. Maybe it's a small lake or a pond. Maybe it's a little stream trickling down the hillside. Or if you were walking on the beach, you have this whole ocean or great lake. It's nice to have some water beside you. And above you is the blue sky, whether you're in an open place or looking up through the canopy of trees. You see the blue sky, the clouds, the sunshine, and the earth beneath you. Imagine feeling rooted in the earth, as if you were a tree or a flower, and you had roots that grounded you, that connected you, It allowed you to feel plugged into the earth. Imagine what a wonderful feeling to be rooted in the earth, to feel as if I belong here. This is my spot. This is where I grow. Feel that connection to the earth. For your body is of the earth. Yet you are more than that. Each of us is illumined and animated by an energy. And so while feeling rooted to the ground, imagine at the top of your head, standing open and receptive to the gentle precipitation downward of the life force. A chi or a ki, prana or kundalini, whatever love and light feels like a downward impress of energy, illuminating, animating you, filling your body from the top of your head down, and commingling with the energies from the earth. Again, each of us stands in the middle between this spiritual energy and the solid physical material world. For each of us is both of those things. A physical body and an energy that animates it. So, like a battery that's being recharged, both poles are connected, and these energies, yin and yang, commingle and recharge you and restore you and renew you. And this is done effortlessly by letting go and standing open and receptive. There's no effort here. In fact, to facilitate this renewal, we have to let go and stand open and receptive to the energies from the earth and the sky, from the mother and the father, so to speak. And just imagine that, like a battery, you feel yourself slowly and even elegantly recharging, drawing upon an energy that is not from the calories that the body burns from the food that we eat. Beyond that energy is a life force, a magnetic field that we can draw upon, of love and light. And this is expanded awareness or higher consciousness in these levels of deep relaxation. We can look at our problems without feeling as if life is a struggle. You just observe them without judgment. To facilitate a greater understanding and the insight that allows you to recognize multiple options and choices that might not have occurred to you if your eyes were open and you're wide awake and running around doing this and that. Bring your discontent here, your heartache, your sadness, your loneliness, your alienation. Sit with that in these places of perfect peace and ideal relaxation for the insight that's available for all of these fear-based emotional feelings, the ones that hurt us. They're simply requests for insight and understanding, for more information. It hurts just to get your attention. It upsets you not because there's a value in being upset and being more and more upset and losing awareness and losing, in some cases, control and your ability not only to understand but even to behave in cogent ways, in ways you will not regret later. Choosing carefully your speech and other behaviors requires the expanded awareness of relaxation. Sit with your problems, sit with your sadness, sit with your frustrations and your angers, your loneliness and your alienation here in this place. Devote the time and the attention, 10 or 15 minutes, rather than trying to do this while you're driving the car or running errands or making your dinner or washing dishes or doing the laundry. That's where most of us do our problem solving as part of multitasking. Stop the multitasking if it's that important. Just put all of that stuff down for 10 minutes and come here. Let this be your place of perfect peace, your place of ideal relaxation. Look around you so that you can see how it occurs to you. Look at the trees and the grasses. Are there flowers here? Look at the blue sky. Listen to the birds. Feel how it feels to be here so that you can return. And every time you immerse yourself in this experience, your awareness will expand even more, raising your consciousness, promoting your ability to gain insight intuitively and understand, to realize, to recognize, to actualize. And whatever you learn in any of these meditative sessions, make a little mental note, telling yourself it'll be easy to remember when you return to the wide awake state. It'll be easy to remember because and make a decision about why this will be easy to remember. Even how to come back to this place will be easy to remember and repeat, getting better and better every time you practice your meditation. In this case, with visualization or guided imagery to an actual place of perfect peace and ideal relaxation. Now, I'm going to count slowly in a moment from 1 to 5. Don't really need to. Could tell you just to open your eyes, but let's use the slow counting as a transition so that when, in a few moments, I finally reach the number 5, at that time you'll open your eyes, wide awake, feeling fine, with a full memory and a deep understanding. And so, as I count 1, imagine yourself getting into the basket of a beautiful hot air balloon. Over here in the meadow, maybe there's this balloon, and you jump in the basket and throw off the tether, drop a sandbag or two, and you begin to float upward, floating up 2 into a beautiful blue sky. 3, drifting up above the treetops, floating higher, slowly. You can see the horizons stretching in all directions as you drift upward toward the wide awake state. 4, coming up, almost there. Feel the chair supporting you now. Feel the floor beneath your feet. Remember the room in which you sit. And 5, his eyes open, wide awake, back in the room. Back in the room, feeling fine, rested, refreshed, feeling really good. Eyes open, wide awake, feeling even better than before. Okay? Welcome back. I still hear some rustling and some rumbling, and when I try to mute everybody, I mute myself. So, can each of you check in the lower left to make sure your microphone is muted? Sometimes just moving things around on your desk will generate a lot of noise. Thank you for that. Okay, so that was probably deeper than you're used to going. And maybe you noticed that your mind was a little more quiet and a little more peaceful because you went deeper. And that's something you can do anytime with any meditation. If you find that, it just doesn't feel right, doesn't really feel like you're, air quotes, there. You're not sufficiently relaxed and you want to go deeper. Well, use the idea of the staircase. I've had clients say they prefer an elevator or an escalator. Okay. But however you settle, walking down the stairs or take a very slow elevator, feel that sinking feeling, that settling feeling. A nice allegory I think I've probably mentioned before is the glass bowl of muddy water. And if you stir it up, which is our wide awake state, getting stirred up, just looks like muddy water. But if you let that water settle for a bit, just let it sit, you stop stirring it, right? And soon the surface of the water will become flat, calm, and then the mud will start to fall out of it. And it may take a while, it may take an hour or more, because some of those particles are so fine. But eventually, all that silt, all that mud, all those tiny little particles will settle to the bottom, leaving the water clear. And so it is with meditation. The more relaxed you become, the more clear you become. And clarity and an undisturbed mind are wonderful ways of describing the whole point of meditation. In fact, one of the primary forms of meditation in Eastern philosophy is called Vipassana, with a V like Victor. Vipassana. It's also called insight meditation. It has to do with the non-attached state that we have touched on in the past and will continue to develop, where we watch the breath and identify as the watcher, not the breather. And we'll do more with that, learning to watch intrusive thoughts, watch the monkey mind, and identify as the witness or the watcher, the observer, and not the thinker. And we can think of this as detachment. It's sometimes called detachment, but that sort of suggests an obliviousness and not being engaged. And actually, we're fascinated. We're very engaged, but we're not holding on. You see, there's no holding on. There's no tension. There's letting go, standing back, allowing the mind to do whatever it does when it petitions us for our attention, allowing the emotional nature to have its ebb and flow. It's rising and falling, it's coming and it's going, and not identifying with it. I am this sadness. I am this anger. I am this despair. And instead, a more non-attached, I'm aware of feeling these feelings. But because everything passes, they don't last. And the place again to create that letting go, that non-attachment, is deep relaxation. Now the question, how deep do you go? How, like limbo, how low can you go? And there are many corollaries that go with becoming relaxed. Or on the other hand, getting very tense. The whole idea of this brain structure called the amygdala, this little cluster of neurons that are dedicated to the so-called fight or flight response, survival. This is where Maslow's hierarchy begins, right? Your hierarchy of needs begins with survival. So we shouldn't be surprised that there's an area of the brain that is devoted to finding danger in anything that is unknown, whether it's new and therefore unknown, or maybe some very old trauma that never was understood, maybe from your childhood when you didn't really have the capacity to understand. And that creates subtle tensions in the body, resistance. You find your hands turning into fists. You will find muscles tightening in your body to either fight or run. And of course, these tight muscles crimp down on blood veins and arteries and capillaries of miles and miles and miles of tiny little thread-like capillaries in your body. As those muscles tighten in response to the adrenaline and cortisol that's getting dumped into your body, warning, Will Robinson, warning. As those muscles tighten, then the blood pressure goes up, right? So as to move that blood through those tight muscles, and that means your pulse goes up, and then your respiration follows, and your rate of breathing goes up. And there's a number of other physiological changes. Your pupils dilate, and you're able to see better in shadow and darkness. And well, chief among all of these corollaries, these symptoms of great tension or deep relaxation, where you reverse the response, is brainwaves. And we could be wrong about saying this is the main corollary or the primary evidence that there's some real change going on. But because it's the brain, we sort of give it a, we sort of figure it's in charge. It's got a high priority. And, above pupils dilating or getting an upset stomach because your body is tightening. And there's a range of frequencies that the brain goes through. Now, let's be clear, the brain is actually generating at all times, from birth to death, until you flatline. The electroencephalograph generates an electroencephalogram, usually just displayed on a screen, though of course it could be printed out, of electrical activity in the brain. This is caused by, basically brain chemistry. But the frequency is what we're interested in. What's the frequency or the rate of the oscillation or the vibration of these electromagnetic waves, really, that are generated by the brain? And they vary from very, very slow, 1 cycle per second. A cycle per second is called hertz. You've heard of megahertz, millions of hertz, like FM radio. KPFK is 90.7 megahertz, million hertz. That's where you find it on the dial. That radio signal is vibrating 90.7 million times a second. Well, brain waves are on the very slow end of that, 1 cycle per second, or even half a cycle per second. This is deep, deep, deep non-dream sleep. And then the higher brainwave frequencies are in the 30s. And this is not only wide awake, but freaking out, angry, upset, filled with hatred, animosity, feeling like you could just throttle somebody, or you throw something against the wall and it shatters, and you make a big scene. These are the highest brainwave states. That sort of figures, doesn't it? It sort of feels right. Like if you're relaxed, it's slower and slower and slower. So if we could lower the brain waves, well, let me say it first of all, as we relax, the brain waves go slower. If there was a way of lowering the rate or slowing down the brain waves, wouldn't it then follow that that would induce relaxation? And it does. This is called brain entrainment. And there's a number of ways you can do that. The brain tends to entrain or synchronize with any pulsing stimulus, whether it's visual or auditory or tactile. So maybe you've seen these light and sound machines. I've had one that I've used since the late 1980s. So 30, 35 years I've been playing around with this. I've had several of them actually, light and sound machines. They have a little IC chip in them and a series of programs, 10, 15, 20 or more programs that flash little LEDs in these eyeglasses you put on and pulse tones into the headphones that you wear. And the program that you run is some variation or version of starting at a relatively high level of brainwave activity in the upper 20s or the low 30s, where most people live most of the time. Standard, wide awake, multitasking, high stimulus, brainwave state, wide awake. And then as the program runs and the lights flash and the tones in your ears pulse, they go slower and slower and slower and slower. And damn, the brain waves follow, they entrain. And so the reverse is true. Not only does relaxation slow down or lower the frequency of brain waves, but entraining the brain waves with external stimulus like flashing lights and pulsing tones, as they go slower, the brain waves lower and the body relaxes. And this is also accomplished in other ways: chanting, singing. You listen to a Gregorian chant, it'll space you out. It'll relax you. Baroque music, music without lyrics, that is gentle and soothing and ethereal. It'll relax you. Staring into a fire, few consider this. Even a single candle is a very hypnotic experience, or a meditative experience. Has anyone ever suggested you meditate by watching a candle flicker? Or what is it we love about building a campfire or fire in the fireplace? If it's allowed in the city where you live, in LA, I don't think it's legal to have wood fires anymore, just because of the pollution and such. But you love the feeling of sitting in front of the fireplace. Why? Because it induces, through that flickering, that gentle lower frequency of stimulus, a wonderful level of relaxation. So I haven't been in the woods in a while. I don't even know if campfires, wood fires are allowed. I think maybe if you bring your own wood. But I don't think you can go around a national park picking up wood and build a fire anymore. But be that as it may, that's what we used to love about going camping, was building a nice big fire and then sitting there and watching it. And eventually your gaze goes from the flames down to the coals, right? And you watch that dance at the base of the fire. It's very cool. It's very far out. That's a meditation. That's an induction technique. And 9 out of 10 meditation classes will just say, close your eyes and relax. We're going to meditate. And then you don't really go anywhere. You don't feel any shift or any change. Nothing about your level of consciousness or your state of awareness seems any different than it did. And so you conclude that you really can't relax. You haven't been able to. Especially as beginning meditators, the first couple of years, to be aware of the induction process. Beginning meditators, I strongly believe, need to be aware of the induction. And so today I wanted to show you what's happening empirically, quantifiably in terms of brainwaves. So give me a second. I'm going to bring up a graphic. And this shouldn't take too long. I'm not really used to doing this, but you should now see a graph on your screen that is headed human brainwaves. Now, in the last 20 years, we've discovered something called gamma brainwaves, which are at the high end of this chart. They're the higher frequencies from the low 30s up to 100, according to this graphic. I understand that gamma waves actually can go higher than that, to 200 or 300. The thing about gamma waves is we don't really know what they're about. We haven't really correlated them, other than to say they sometimes seem to be associated with humor and with epiphany, kind of a superconscious, lid-lifting aha experience. Oh my God. The aha, the eureka illumination. Rarely are these states exclusive. In the real world, if you looked at an EEG or read the printout, you would find these waves mixed in together. So it's a matter of what is your primary state. And with that in mind, I want to talk about the 4 channels below gamma, which go back over 100 years. These were discovered in, I think, 1908. Actually had machinery that far back that would measure these. And the first waves that they measured, they called alpha, because they were different from the normal brainwave signature. So alpha is the first letter in the Greek alphabet, so they called them alpha. But let's begin with the second level. I see it as green. I'm a bit colorblind, but it looks like blue, green, yellow, orange, and red to me. So that second level, beta, it says 12 to 30 cycles per second. This is our normal wide awake state, beta. My business associate for many years, Steve Snyder, calls this alpha beta data. Beta is the normal wide awake, scattered attention, multitasking, all of our senses and sensations demanding our attention, the brain chattering away. Wide awake, had 3 cups of coffee, you're starting to worry about your problems, you're living in beta. Everybody does. Now just below beta, a little bit slower, this yellow zone in the middle, this is the celebrated alpha brainwave level. And this chart says 7.5 to 12. I was always taught 8 to 13, but close enough. So as you begin to relax, mixed in with the beta brainwave frequencies, we begin to see a few slower brainwaves, the alpha brainwave. And if I was in another room looking at the EEG, not seeing the subject, I could say, oh, they're beginning to relax. Here come the alpha waves, right? Until alpha waves predominate. And there's a little beta, and maybe even a little gamma every once in a while. But your primary brainwave level is alpha when you're feeling really great, when you're relaxed. Maybe you're reading a book. Maybe you're sitting in the lawn chair. or sunning yourself on the beach and you close your eyes and it's not too hot and the sun feels just so wonderful on your body and you just relax and maybe, drift off into almost a kind of a dreamlike state. But there's no question that it just feels wonderful and is like a nap almost. Although not only are you awake in beta, you're even more aware. This is a level of expanded awareness. Below alpha, you'll see a level called theta. This is the orange stripe, second from the bottom. And this chart says what? 4 to 7 cycles. That's about right. Again, there are different standards. I would have thought it's more like 3 to 8, but again, we're in the ballpark here. What is theta? Theta is a dreamlike state that's associated with what's known as hypnagogic imagery. This is, you might say, well, that's where I hallucinate. Uh, Anytime you relax and have strong visuals, you get deeply relaxed, the imagery in your mind becomes more colorful, more intense, more real. Even though you have the expanded awareness to know that your eyes are closed and this is the mind's eye, the imagery is so real, it's like a lucid dream. So we shouldn't be surprised that when we dream at night, although we're unconscious, brainwaves rise up into from the deeper delta, which we're going to next. During the dream, which is about 3 or 4 minutes every 90 minutes. That's the typical dream cycle. You dream about every 90 minutes for 3 or 4 minutes. And as you move toward the awake state in the morning after you've had a full night's rest, the length of the dream gets a little longer. Not a lot, maybe another minute, another 2 minutes. Dreams get a little bit longer as you move toward morning. The period between the dreams just a little bit shorter as you move toward morning. The dreams you're most likely to remember upon awakening, as you might suspect, are the dreams that you have just before you wake up. Forgive me, it's 7 minutes after, and I want to go to questions in just a few minutes, but we haven't had a lot of questions, so I'm going to take a little more time. I wish we had more questions. I love the engagement, but I'll do that in just another minute. And so we finally come to the bottom strip here, the red strip, which is delta. And this is half a cycle to 4 cycles per second. And this is deep non-dream sleep, don't you see? And if you've ever had a sleep study done, this is what they're looking at in the morning. When you wake up, they look at this. How much time did you spend in delta? How much of that time did you come up into theta? If you come up into alpha, or even upper theta, you're probably going to be awake, at least to some degree. I will often do that during the night. I will come into lucidity or awareness, but not be wide awake. Actually, I did that this morning. My alarm is my iPhone, of course, and it has a song. It doesn't ring or rattle. I have it set up to play a song. I heard the alarm. I heard the song come off, and I drifted right back into sleep. And then I woke up a few minutes later, and I realized I had slept through the alarm, which only plays for 10 minutes, and it gives up on me. So there are these transitional states and these in-between states. But basically you sleep in delta, that's deep non-dream sleep. Every 90 minutes or so the brainwave frequency increases into this theta range, 4 to 7 cycles. You have a dream and then come back down into delta. So what's interesting about theta is you can be dreaming and visualizing unconsciously, not remembering your dreams while you sleep, but you can also get into theta with awareness when you meditate. The theta state associated with the hypnagogic imagery, you can be there either asleep or awake. Alpha is a typical state of gentle, mild relaxation. Beta is the frenzy, multitasking, a lot going on state of wide awake. And then, as I say, the higher gamma wave frequencies we don't fully understand yet. We've been studying them for 20 years. And you can find old brainwave charts that are limited to the lower four. They don't even mention gamma. So, not much else to say about that, except it does seem to be associated, what do they say here? Associated with insight, peak focus, and expanded consciousness. But again, I think it may be too soon to say for sure what all that's about. Okay, so that's a little introduction to brainwave states and the way they correlate to consciousness or expanded awareness. Note the irony, friends, of becoming more aware as you move towards sleep. And when we're awake and alert, particularly frenzied multitasking, doing this and that, trying to keep all the plates spinning and all the balls in the air, you're not at your best. Your awareness is shattered. It is degraded and diminished by excessive stimulus. And of course, if you're at the other end, deep in delta, asleep, unconscious, you have no awareness at all. Small a awareness. I don't want to get into the esoterics right now, but awareness persists. Even when you die, you still have awareness, but that's an esoteric concept for another day. But you understand what I'm saying. If deep non-dream sleep is essentially unaware, a level of unawareness, and wide awake is this scattered awareness, then the focus, the peak performance is in the middle, and that's why we meditate. That's where you're at your best, when you're relaxed, when you're cool, calm, and collected. And you don't have to close your eyes to get into that level of awareness, but it's a good place to begin.
We do have a question.
Good. Share it, please.
I will. It comes from Bob, and he says, does your retirement appear to promise a comfortable supply to meet Maslow's needs and deep spirit needs? And that's from Bob.
Yeah, I think so. I think in many ways, I've been retired. 74 years old when I was, well, let me do some math here. In 2000, late 2007, early 2008, Doreen and I moved to Maui, Hawaii. That's when I gave up my school. I had a school where I was certifying hypnotherapists. I called it meditative hypnosis, actually, because I always thought hypnotists could benefit from understanding meditation, and vice versa. Meditators, many of which are terrified of the idea of hypnosis, knew more about it, they wouldn't be so intimidated by it. They're the same state. So I had a school, 160-hour year-long class in Glendale, and we'd gone through 3 or 4 of these year-long classes, and the opportunity to really retire came up. So that was late 2007. It was early 2008 by the time we got the papers for the cats and got ourselves settled in. That was basically when I retired. So, what is that? 14 years ago. Something like, is that right? 2008, 18. Yeah, 14 years ago I retired. Then, Doreen has children and grandchildren by a previous marriage who she was missing horribly. So, after a little over 5 years, we came back to LA. Uh, I started teaching occasionally in La Crescenta, little center called Body and Soul up in Foothill Boulevard. Started seeing private clients again, but still thought of myself, Bob, as being retired. And then 5 years ago, we moved out here to the desert. I still see private clients. I love doing private clients by telephone or by Zoom. Gives me great pleasure. Uh, my website has all that information on it. And then about a year and a half ago, KPFK called and asked me to come back and do a show. So I guess I'm retiring again, and only from radio. I'll continue to do the private counseling. I'll continue to do this Sunday Zoom class. It'll always be free of charge. I just love doing this. It helps me in many ways to, if nothing else, take something that's very multidimensional and put it into a linear, logical order, uh, which helps me to further my understanding. There's an old saying: "He or she who teaches learns twice," and that alone is a great reason to teach. Plus the other rewards that come from hearing from people who benefit from it. So the private counseling, the one-on-one, the Zoom class will continue. And I think I'm going to write another book. I'm real sure of it. I don't know that I'll ever finish it because it takes a while. It took me 4.5 years to write my first book, Fearless Intelligence. And I also intend to spend a lot more time with Doreen and a lot more time just chilling out and maybe pick up my camera, get back into photography, maybe play my guitar a little more. I got a new musical instrument called a tongue drum. I need to learn to play that. I got to get my left hand developed to play this tongue, sort of like a steel drum. And it's very cool and very alpha-inducing kind of experience to listen to it or to play it. So I'll maybe some more time doing that. But
I have a question, Michael, when you're wrapping up.
yeah, I'm not sure what to say about the whole idea of retirement. If that means sitting in front of the TV with a beer, watching reruns of 1960s TV shows, I don't suppose I'll ever retire. I'll never do that. Yeah, Mindy.
You touched on an interesting interface between meditation and hypnosis, and especially in today's meditation, uh, it I wonder if you could talk about the difference and the similarities in the two. And I found it fascinating that you called it, what did you call it? Meditative hypnotherapy. And it's different from a lot of the meditation techniques. That's my question. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, it's a great question in the context of these brainwave states that we're talking about today. Because in terms of the level of mind, the changes in states of consciousness or altered states that we can experience with hypnosis and meditation. It's these same places. It's this alpha and theta brainwave level. If we go deeper into delta, you fall asleep. If nothing changes, you stay in beta like you always have. And that's the biggest, that's the biggest range. That's 12 cycles all the way up to 40 is beta. This chart says gamma starts in the low 30s, but that's debatable. So that's the biggest area. 12 cycles all the way up to 40 cycles is wide awake. So the altered states are alpha and theta, so-called altered states of expanded awareness. Theta, again, is associated with the hypnagogic imagery. Eyelids often flutter. You get REM activity, rapid eye movement, when you visualize or when you dream, and that's an indication of that theta state. Hypnosis is different than meditation in that the induction is a very important part of it. Most meditation teachers will just say, close your eyes and relax. That's it. Ideally, if it's a yoga class, there is some stretching. There's hatha yoga before you do the meditation. Many yoga classes today only do the stretching. And there's even something called hot yoga, where it's combined with cardiovascular activity, which is not much of a meditation. It's just the opposite. But Westerners are more conscious, more concerned in many cases with exercise and weightlifting and exertion and building body muscle and mass and being strong. And you have to consider that the complement to that is being flexible and being loose and stretching. That's what yoga really is.
Michael, I'm sorry to interrupt you. There are two parallel questions that I thought you could touch on. Patrick wonders, is there ever too much meditation? And Dora asked, how can we enter alpha state and then leave it?
Okay. Keep those in mind for me, Mindy, and I'll get back to that before 12:30.
Fine.
I want to say a few more words about the distinction you asked about between meditation and hypnosis or self-hypnosis. So hypnosis or self-hypnosis, or hypnosis and self-hypnosis, there's much more attention paid to the induction, which is what we did today. It was a longer induction, including the walking down the staircase, going deeper, more relaxed. That's called an induction. Meditators usually just close their eyes and are told, now you're meditating. Relax. And if you did the yoga and the stretching, that would help. Beyond that, meditation is more receptive, open, and receptive for insight and understanding. Hypnosis has that, but it's more focused on suggestion, sets of instructions, dare I say, commands to the unconscious, which becomes more and more amenable to suggestion as you go deeper and more relaxed. If I induce a deep level of relaxation and ask a subject to imagine their left hand floating up as if being gently pulled upward by a helium balloon, that hand will begin to rise. Every once in a while, you find someone that's so stressed and so tense that they reject these suggestions. They are not amenable to suggestion. They're not hyper amenable, especially. And it is often said, well, they can't be hypnotized. What that means is they won't be hypnotized because they won't stop holding on. They're still holding on for dear life, holding on to their bodies, holding on to the arms of the chair, holding on like a dentist is doing a root canal, holding on, arching their back, girding their loins, holding on to life for dear life. And that's the problem. That just shatters attention, weakens the immune system, destroys empathy and compassion. And that's the central problem that everybody has, too much holding on. But most people will allow themselves to become deeply relaxed when guided, at least to a point. And as that hand floats up, I might say, okay, in a moment, I'm going to snap my fingers and you'll be unable to lower that hand. It's as if it's encased in concrete. And the harder you try to lower that hand, the more impossible it'll be. Snap my fingers. 9 out of 10 times, they will not be able to put that hand down. They have accepted that suggestion. The unconscious mind says, oh, okay, I can do that. I can become unable to move my arm. Now the conscious mind is amazed. He goes, "Holy cow! What did he do? What is some kind of witchcraft? I can't move my hand." Well, no, your unconscious mind, which is the bulk of the mind, is unconscious. These are not two minds. It's just like an iceberg. The conscious mind is just the tip of it sticking above the waterline. It's very amenable to suggestion. We believe war is necessary, for example. That's a lot of training, a lot of repetition, a lot of hypnosis. TV is a hypnotic instrument. It's designed to hypnotize you to believe that you have bad breath, your body smells, you're not handsome enough, somebody else, probably of a different ethnicity, is going to come and get you. And you need our product, you need our service, you need me in office as your politician to protect you from all these fanciful fears that you have. But we're hypnotized. The obsession people have with zombie movies, that ought to be evidence enough. The zombies, The Walking Dead, the vampire movies. Why are these so popular? Because that's who we are. And then the other real popular series, movies, and TV stuff is the superhero. So look at the polarities. We're zombies wishing superheroes would come and save us from The Walking Dead. Well, The Walking Dead is us most of the time. So we're very amenable to suggestion. We're all hypnotized to some degree most of the time. What we call hypnosis is just a deeper level, and of course, an ethical hypnotherapist is using this for your benefit to give you affirmations and positive suggestions of healing and insight and understanding and behavior modification and habit management and stress reduction and these types of things. And so that's more causative. That's more of putting using this open receptive state to plant seeds, send sets of instructions, so-called suggestions to the unconscious, whereas meditation is more an open receptive state, becoming aware of whatever just bubbles up. Now, what was the first of the other two questions, Mindy?
Is there such a thing? Can there be too much meditation?
No, no. The idea is to see meditation as a practice that allows you, when your eyes are open and you're not meditating, to still maintain that expanded awareness, to be mindful of your daily life and affairs, to be that aware all the time, to live in the moment without judgment, to be clear, to be that lucid, to be that passionate, compassionate, empathetic, um, to give up being reactionary and to initiate your behaviors. So, meditation is a practice to learn to live in these levels of expanded awareness. Is there benefit from meditating an hour instead of 15 minutes? Yeah, but after 15 or 20 minutes, there's a point of diminishing return where you don't get that much more. Some people meditate 2 hours. Some people meditate an hour or more twice a day. Are they getting extra benefit from it? Maybe they are if they do it and enjoy it, but it's not necessary. Research shows what's necessary to create changes in the way you think, in the way you feel, and literally in the brain. A shrinking, diminishing of the amygdala, the fear center, and a physical growth of gray and white matter. 12 to 14 minutes a day, 3 to 4 days a week. Of mindful meditation, not concentration. It's different. Concentration, you admonish yourself when your mind drifts away. Vipassana or mindfulness meditation, you do not admonish yourself. You put a little smile on your face and say, well, of course, that's what the brain does. And as soon as you're aware that you've drifted away, you accept it, you acknowledge it, and you gently bring yourself back to the focus of your attention, whether it's your breathing or a candle or the place of perfect peace that you've visualized, whatever you're working on to understand. But you never admonish yourself. There's no failure to concentrate when you do mindfulness meditation. And that's the meditation that's been shown over concentration to shrink the amygdala and grow the brain. And the other question, Mindy?
How is it possible to enter and then leave alpha state?
Well, come to this class, which includes instruction in how to meditate. Um, the three parts of any meditation is closing your eyes, uh, taking a few slow, deep breaths initially, and then allowing your body to breathe itself and to be aware of the body breathing itself. And then a letting go feeling in the body. Closed eyes, gentle breathing, few slow, deep breaths to begin, and a feeling of letting go, of releasing muscular tension. These are three messages to the amygdala that you're safe, and it stops pouring adrenaline and cortisol into your body. Your body normalizes, and your awareness expands. So it's simply a Zen Buddhist would say, you simply sit. You don't even really need to close your eyes. If you're in a beautiful place, you can just simply sit or close your eyes and imagine, as we just did, that you're in a beautiful place. Brainwaves will lower, you'll be meditating. Okay. And if you stay with us, you'll learn all kinds of things to do when you meditate. You could chant, you could sing, you could watch your breathing, you could watch the mind trying to distract you and study the patterns of thinking and the loops that we go through in our thinking. It's fascinating. You can find the way one thought is connected to the next thought when your thoughts are not deliberate but intrusive and random. What are how, this is why it's called monkey mind, not because it's loud and chattering, but the way a monkey like Tarzan swings through the trees, gets a vine and swings, reaches out, grabs another vine and swings. Sometimes it's called grasshopper. Remember Caine in the old Kung Fu series? He was called as a boy grasshopper. That's a reference to your mind, to the way the mind jumps around when it's unsettled, and what's normal awareness for most people, jumping from this to that, almost frenzied, almost as if running away. And that's what it's doing. The amygdala is always looking for fear. And Again, politicians and advertisers and movers and shakers and opinion makers exploit that. They're always trying to terrify you. So meditation is as easy as, again, staring into a fireplace. Even, as I said, watching TV, except that they're called programs because they're programming you. And the entertainment part of a TV show is just to keep you entranced until the next commercial, filled with fear, comes along to tell you what you need to buy and what you need to do to profit those people. Uh, but TV is an extremely hypnotic device. It would be beneficial if what you watched on TV was a sunny meadow with butterflies and birds singing. It's the programming that's so dangerous with television, but as a device, staring into a candle, as I said before, wonderful meditation, just feeling relaxed and joyous. Even if you're active and your eyes are open and you're running around, if you're filled with joy and happy for no reason, that's that's a meditation. How do you know you're doing it? You feel joy. You feel happy for no reason. Um, it's just really as simple as that. Plus, you're smarter. You know, the more joyous you are, the smarter you are. It's when we start getting grumpy and play victim, and how much small talk and casual conversation between friends is complaining about being a victim of a life that's done to you. And of course, you have nothing to do with it. It's all these people, these bad people that are hurting you and causing you problems, or events and circumstances. You know, what we want is love, but we'll settle for sympathy. And it's tragic that that's what passes for conversation instead of, you know what I was thinking the other day? Share that. It's positive, uplifting. You know what I was reading the other day that made me think? Share that. Eleanor Roosevelt said, small minds think and talk about other people. Moderately aware minds talk about events. Great minds discuss fantastic ideas. Make your conversation about ideas, less about events, and avoid gossiping about other people. I think that's worthy of reflecting on. Anything else, Minnie? We're about out of time here.
We are, I was going to suggest there are some more comments on this topic. It's such a broad topic that maybe we could take part of it up next week. It's such an expansive, important topic.
Yeah, and if uh, you or anyone else who's with us here today wants to enter some comments in the chat box, that is saved on my computer and I read those. I look that over afterwards, so I'd value any comments that you want to leave in the chat box, and then make a mental note to bring it up next week. We'll continue along these lines, and particularly emotional intelligence. I want to talk a little more about emotional intelligence. And on deck, very soon, we're going to talk about metta. Metta, M-E-T-T-A, is loving kindness. We're going to talk about, I mean, we've been talking about hurtful feelings. How about we talk about happiness and joy and peace of mind? What is that? How does it impact our relationships with other people? The truth is, you can't really be happy unless and until you acknowledge the essential role that other people play in our lives. You are not alone. And perhaps it's ironic, coincidental, synchronistic. The word alone, if you add an L to the word alone, you get all one. And we're not alone, though we feel that way sometimes. The truth is, we're all one. Separation is an illusion. And so as we work our way through managing our hurtful feelings, let's celebrate some happiness and peace and joy. And how do we engender that? And then give that to others. To what is wishing love? We know what self-cherishing love is. We know what romantic love is. What is wishing love and compassion? And beyond that, bodhicitta. We'll talk about those 5 kinds of love in the next few weeks. That's it. That's all the time I got. I want you to unmute and say goodbye to everybody, and hope you can join us next Sunday at 11 Pacific time.
Goodbye and thank you.
Namaste.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Salam. Aloha.
Guys. Thank you, Melinda. Love you, Michael.